Today's project is a bamboo dresser. I love anything bamboo, kind of that Asian feel. So I've never actually done a long bamboo before. I got it from a local furniture refinisher, a friend of mine, Jaden Brown. She's from JB Furniture 22. If you're over on Instagram, she does great work. Great customs, all kinds of stuff. So it wasn't sparking joy for her. So she was like, do anybody want it? So I was like, I'll take it. So it's not solid wood. There is some components that are composite, but this thing is solid. And so there are obviously some solid components to it, but I haven't found a maker's mark on it. It's not dovetails, but the design is amazing. It's a classic piece with being bamboo. She already ditched all the hardware because it was really cheap. So I'm gonna have to source new hardware for it, which gives me some flexibility. I can fill in some holes and change up things if I want to. I have a new paint that I've been wanting to try. It's like an Italian coating, and so it's gonna be good. Here we go. Here's some more close-ups of it. Again, I don't know all of the components. The top, I believe, is some type of a composite. There are some solid wood components on the drawers and different parts, but I love the styling, obviously, with the faux bamboo, but you can see there's so many little pieces. In order to get a really good paint job, I'm gonna have to fill all of that in so that it's really smooth. So at the first glance, it looks great, but then when you really start dialing back, you can see there's the door fronts are not real wood. But it is a style that's really popular right now. It leans into the grand millennial chinoiserie look, so I think it's going to be a really good flip. I could really see it as like a console table or possibly a changing table, that type of application. So my plan is to go ahead and clean it all up. We'll get it sanded down and prepped for paint. In order to reattach the trim piece, I had a few nails that I needed to take out. So this is a great little nail remover. You can just simply rock it out, and then that way it comes out very easily. I'm using some Tite Bond. I'm applying it to the side, then I also applied it to the trim piece. And I'm just going to re-adhere it. Then I'm going to use my brad nailer to provide some extra stability. Obviously, it already had nails in it. So I'm going to go ahead and just use some 5/8 inch nails, and I'm going to reattach it with that. Now I'm going to give it a really good clean. I like to use Awesome or some type of a degreaser just to give it a really nice clean. That way, especially when you're painting, you want to make sure that you get any kind of grease off of it because that can affect your adhesion when you're going to prime and paint. I'm using my sander just to do a very basic scuff sand. Again, by sanding the surface, I'm just roughing it up so that I have really good adhesion when I go to prime and paint. I don't want any kind of shiny surfaces, so this gives me a really good base. I'm using some glazing Bondo to fill in the outlines of the old hardware. I'm not going to fill in the hardware. I'm going to try to source some hardware that matches the existing holes because I actually like the style, but I'm going to see if I can find some that is similar. But I'm going to try to fill in all those little holes that they had so that I can get a really nice finish. The glazing Bondo is really good for shallow areas that need to be filled in. So nail holes or any shallow scratches or dings, it's really good for that. So it's very easy to apply, it dries really quickly, and you can sand it smooth. Once everything's prepped, I'm ready to get my drawers ready for spray paint. So I'm going to use a little nail that I'm going to put in through one of them backwards and put some painter's tape, and that's going to act as a handle during the refinishing process, so I can open and close the door when I have it in there. I'm using painter's tape on the sides to protect that from overspray. Then I'm just going to use a little bit of painter's tape on the top. I like to either use press and seal paper or I like to use aluminum foil. I honestly like aluminum foil better, but I ran out halfway through, so I'm using press and seal. But because sometimes my sprayer has strong air, it'll kind of blow around the press and seal, so I think the aluminum foil is a better choice. You could also use craft paper as well. Now I'm ready to set up my spray booth area. I just put some drop cloths down on the floor. I've hung some drop cloths from my ceiling. That just protects the area around from any paint overspray. Once I move everything into position, I'm ready to just give everything just one final dusting with just a very slight damp cloth, and I'm ready to prime. I'm using my Earlex 5700. This is by Wagner. It's an all metal gun, and I love this. It works so good. It gives me a really smooth finish. In order to get some of those finer details, I have to go offset with my pattern a little bit, and then it helps get into some of those finer areas. I use just simple cardboard to help protect from some overspray. It's a very simple tool, but it works really well. You can see I have used some painter's tape just to tape off some of those areas. Now this has already been painted, so there's a lot of overspray in it already from the original factory finish, but I'm trying to protect it somewhat and get a nice clean finish. You can see I like to do nice long passes. I try to do about 50% overlap when I'm using my spray gun. It gives me a really nice finish. Try not to go too fast. I have to sometimes slow myself down because the paint needs time to come out of the sprayer. So you don't want to go too fast so you're not laying it down, but you don't want to also go too slow or it'll glob up on you. So it's a balance. You know, you really have to practice with your sprayer to get the right speed and consistency. After the first coat of primer, I'm going to give it a nice scuff sand with a high grit. Make sure I dust it back off, and then I'll be ready for my second coat. I like to turn my pieces over to make sure I get on the underside. There's nothing worse than when you're going to put something in somebody's vehicle and you forgot an area. So you need to make sure you tip those pieces over that kind of get onto those areas that you don't see as well. I really want to fill those joints a little bit better, so I'm going to get some paintable caulk. I like this one because you don't have to load it up in your caulk gun. All you have to do is just squeeze it out of the tube, so it's really easy to use. Just cut it at an angle, apply it. I like to smooth it out with my finger, and then I can remove any excess just with a damp, lint-free cloth. I spray the doors initially with them on. I'm going to go ahead and take them off so I can get a really nice finish. So today I'm going to try a new paint. I keep hearing about these Italian coating paints that are supposed to be all the rage and really great quality paints. And so I follow Liz over at Liz Modern. She mainly does kitchen cabinetry now, but if you're in the Huntington, West Virginia area, and you need a quote on painting cabinets, she does amazing work. So give her a look up if you need any work done. But she recommended this paint, and it's called, it usually comes in a red can, but this is a sample. So it's either ICRO or ICRO, and it's sold through the Hartley Group is who it's sold through here in the United States. But I ordered a sample. I have the primer, and then I have the paint. It is a 1K or 2K product. So 1K, 2K, I don't really understand a lot of it, but the way I understand is you can add a catalyst to this product to make it what's called a 2K product, which just adds to the durability of your paint. So you can use this as a 1K or a 2K. And so I'm wanting to paint my kitchen cabinets next year, and I cook a lot. So I have been stalking all of these cabinet groups on Facebook, trying to really find out what will work and what will not work. And I've painted enough furniture to know what I wouldn't paint my furniture with, what type of paint. So I'm on the hunt for something really durable because I need something that can hold up to a lot of wear and tear. And so I'm going to try it on this piece and see how I mean, so far I've tried the primer, and the primer lays down really well and sands really good. So let's try the paint and see how it goes. Let's go.
Here's a little bit of a close-up of the gun. You can see it's really great because you can take it completely apart. So you can take out the gun part from the part that siphons it up and just reattach it. I usually take it completely apart when I'm cleaning it. It is all metal components, and it's really easy to use. I love that this one is a turbine. You just plug it in, but it's not, I don't have to have an air compressor to use it. So it's very user-friendly, and it's a really good price point. You know, if you're not ready to spend $500 to $1,000 to $1,500 for a sprayer, you can get this one for under $400. So it's a really good value for a gun that's all metal components. So once I open it, I'm going to give it a really good stir, and then I like to make sure that I strain my paint. So I'm going to take it through a filter. Now this was thick, and so I made sure that I watered it down a little bit, and I like to make sure that it's the right viscosity. They have tools that you can test your viscosity, but sometimes just the more you do it, the more you know what it's supposed to look like. I always test my spray pattern to make sure that I've got it going the right direction, and now I'm ready to lay down my first coat of paint. This is White Wisp by Benjamin Moore. You can see it's just a little bit off-white. This is just a sample that they sent me, but I actually really like the color. I think it's really pretty. And here it is after the first coat. This is just right off the gun, so it hasn't even had a chance to dry. But wow, it is so smooth. I am just really impressed. Now the primer, I really liked it. It sanded really well. It laid down really beautifully, and the paint is laying down beautifully. I believe they said you could recoat within 45 minutes to an hour, but I had a couple other projects going on, so I waited a few hours between coats. I scoured the internet to try to find different hardware. This is the best one I could come up with for the drop pulls, and I'm not crazy about it, but the color, spray painting it will definitely help. I'm going to make sure I scuff sand a little bit in between my coats, dust it back off, and I'm ready to do my second coat. Now I'm ready to attach my hardware. I'm using what's called breakaway screws because the ones that came with it weren't the right size for my particular set. So you have to just kind of determine where you want to cut them. You can cut them several different ways. People use multi-tools, they'll use a Dremel. I like to just sometimes use a wire stripper because it's just easy. One of mine, the screw came too far out, so I'm using a washer on the back, and that will allow me to have some stabilization so that the screw doesn't come too far through the hole. So you can see there's a little spot there that says insert screw here. You just insert it where you want to, you press it down, you'll hear a little click, and then you can just kind of pull it to the side, and then you have the size screw that you need. I found this really beautiful paper. This is a metallic gold and white paper that I thought really went well with the theme of the piece, since it's kind of that chinoiserie look. Very easy to apply. I did have to piece it because the pattern was going vertical, so I did have to piece it there on the side, but it wasn't too bad. I don't line all of my drawers, but certain pieces I do line. Funny thing is a lot of times I find when I do line the drawers that it sells really well, because sometimes when you're asking a lot for a dresser, funny thing is people want liners. And so I really try to be particular on the type of liner that I put in. I make sure that it matches the theme of the dresser, but my buyers are usually very appreciative of my drawer liners. Now I'm ready to reattach the doors. I have to kind of take out that top drawer just to access it a little bit better. So sometimes reattaching vintage pieces, vintage hardware can be a little frustrating. So sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit. One of the doors was kind of popping out, so I just have to adjust the screws at the top. That one wasn't quite closing. So I just adjusted the screws at the top a little bit, and then it shut freely. The other problem I had was there were some screws on the back of the door that was hitting those cubbies. So all I had to do is move the magnetic latches up a little bit. That way it wasn't hitting that door anymore. So these are some of the little tweaks you have to do with vintage pieces. Okay, let's look back at the before. The main damage was really just reattaching that little piece of trim. Obviously, I had a lot of nicks and things on the top. It probably wasn't even real wood. Like I said, I did have some wood components, but you can see the drawer fronts were not real wood. Now the sides were real, but the front and the back were composite. So, this is a good candidate for a really beautiful paint job, because it was a beautiful piece and it had a lot of storage, and faux bamboo is really popular, that people really like this look. So after a lot of prep, filling in all those little holes and trying the new paint, here is the finished product. Isn't it beautiful? This paint, I wish I could convey in pictures the quality of this paint. Now, the tin sheen ended up being not eggshell, ended up being more of a matte, but I love matte. Sometimes when I'm painting a piece, I have paint and you're like a little nervous if anything were to touch it. This one dries rock solid. I am super impressed with it, and it was fast. Very fast curing time. And so, wow, I really think this would be my go-to paint, especially, like I said, I was looking for one for my kitchen cabinetry. So, wow, I was impressed because, I was able to even use my Erlex 5700. I don't have a super fancy paint sprayer, but it sprayed beautifully. Even with just my kind of, I would say more of a experienced DIYer type of sprayer. I do like the style of hardware. It's classic, and I think it fits the bamboo well. I love the bright gold. It's beautiful. This top is absolutely perfect. I mean, no dings, no gouges. The paint just laid down beautifully. And here you can kind of see some of those areas that I had to fill in with the glazing Bondo and caulking some of the seams around the drawers. I mean, it's not 100% perfect, but wow, considering where we started, it's a very smooth finish. So enjoy some of these videos and I'll come back at the end. So what'd you think of this one? Did you like it? I think it's a beautiful style. I'm not sure what to ask for it though, because I don't have a maker's mark. It's not all wood construction, so I'm a little unsure. Tell me what you think in the comments, and what do you think of this paint? I'm super impressed. Thanks for watching.